What's up, everybody? This is Jason from Straight Edge Knives. Hey, I got a really cool video for you guys today, and this is one I've been wanting to do for a while, but I had to wait for the knife, which there's a whole story behind this, right? But anyway, what we have here today, guys, is a Tkell Knives edition of Straight Edge Knives, and like we said, Tkell Knives right over there. But what we have here today is Tkell Knives' very first folding knife, right? And this is the Mission 01. Look at this big beefy boy right here. Now if you guys see here, it says Mission 01 on the back. I think this is what, number 64 of 250 in the tan color. So the interesting story behind this is Tim over Tkell Knives has been wanting to make a folder for a long time. He's been really working hard at trying to get a folder out to the market. And look at this bad boy. Hold on, I know you guys want to see the knife while I tell the story, but look at this. But he'd been wanting to get a folder out to the market for quite a while. And Tim, being a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, USA all the way, right? He really wanted his folder to be made here in the USA. The problem, I think, is there's a lot of upfront cost of getting that folder made here in the USA. And it was just, Tim's still a relatively small company making fantastic blades. I'm absolutely tell you, those fixed blades are fantastic. So for him to put all that money up front to get the USA made folders done was a little hard. So he reached out to some, countries that are friendly to the US, and there was a company in Taiwan that was able to make these, and they made them very, very well. But Tim really wants these to be USA made. And so what Tim did was he basically came up with a thing for like the Patreon members of Tkell Knives. He did 250 of the tan, 250 of the black. And basically these are kind of like, even though these aren't made in the USA, these are made in Taiwan. These are the fundraising blades essentially to get the American made ones done. So these are kind of a one-time run, basically to get the money to get the American made ones done, right? So nonetheless, Tim was thoroughly impressed with how well these came out, and I don't blame him. This is a very well made blade. This thing is just a beefy chunk of steel, man. Look at this thing. This is I guess for lack of a better term, a combat folder, right? One of the things that he tried to do was emulate this, basically based off of the Mercenary knife, his fixed blade. And you know what? I cannot believe I didn't bring the Mercenary out here with me. Let me go grab that real quick. All right, sorry about that, guys. I can't believe I ran off and didn't bring the Mercenary with me. But this essentially is a folding version of the Mercenary fixed blade. So here's the Mercenary fixed blade. Now, you're like, well, how are they similar? Well, let me see if I can do this. So you have look at the handle on the Mercenary here, right? And then look at the handle on the folder. If you put these basically over the top of each other, they're damn near identical. And then if you look at the blade shapes are, while not exactly, they're pretty identical. So you're basically kind of just getting a smaller version of the Mercenary. If let's see, hold these up next to each other, so you can see at least the similarities there, right? The DNA and fusions, pretty close, right? So you're looking at basically a folding version of the Mercenary, and so essentially, I believe this is what Tim wants to be, a combat folder knife, right? Obviously, there's a lot of folder knives out there in the market, but a lot of them aren't going to be able to handle some of the harder use, or the blade thickness isn't very thick, and they're going to potentially snap those off, right? And so now you got a thick, a fairly thick blade, a big chunk of steel, and you got a push button lock for reinforcement on here. So you got a flipper tab on the back, flip it open, push that button, drop it closed, or you can even push the button in, flick it up and then closed, which works really well. So I do have a few folders here that I will do for size comparison, and I'll show you one of the other features on here about with the button lock that I don't think people think about sometimes, and so you guys can see how this works. But basically, with a button lock, I lost my train of thought. Basically, with a button lock, if you look at this Kaiser Cormorant, you get up close here, you see the button right here, okay? See the button right here. See how it's raised higher than the handle scale? You guys can see that right there. So, makes it easy to push and open and deploy the knife, right? But sometimes what can happen, because even in the open position, you can see how that's raised up. Like if I'm really gripping this tight, like let's say I'm grabbing it like this, right? The edge of my thumb, you can actually, I just deployed that, pushing on it. So in a, emergency situation, you're in a, bad spot, you're squeezing the crap out of the knife. Look, I just squeezing really hard right here. Look at, I've deployed the button. So the button locks are really nice, but you do have to be careful with that, right? So hopefully you guys can see that I'm conveying that correctly. Now, if you look at this Tkell Mission 01, here's the button, but look from the side profile, it's not raised up. So, you can't, you have to use a flipper tab to deploy it, or you can even do a nice little flick wrist thing, but it's flush. Now, when it's open, it is raised, but if you can look at it, it's, just barely sticking over the top of the scallop that's built in right here. So if I'm gripping the shit out of this, I have to really press hard. Like, it's hard for me to get my thumb in there to disengage it. I was able to do it there, but I almost had to cheat and dig this part of my knuckle in there. So if I was just gripping this regular, like this, I'm not doing it. And I have to almost concentrate to drive that tip of the knuckle in to get it to disengage. So in a bad situation, where like you're in a fight for your life or something in the military, right? You don't want to accidentally disengage that and have the blade close on your hand, injuring yourself. I'm squeezing the crap out of it right now, and my fat meaty palm right here can't depress that button like I can with this one. So that's a nice little, that was, I think, one of the intended design features with this, for being a combat folder, so to speak, is that this was going to be low enough to where it was going to be very difficult to accidentally disengage it. You have to really put your thumb in there to disengage it. So I think that's a really cool feature, a good safety feature. It is something that you have to get used to, though. If you're used to a traditional button lock where you can easily, open and close, flip, things like that, it's a little bit more, you got to really think about it. You really have to engage that lock, to get it to open and close. You can still do it very quickly. It's just, maybe a little bit slower, but with a little bit of practice, you'll be flipping this thing like crazy, right? So for size comparisons, and don't worry, I'm sorry guys, I got all off track here. I really wanted to show some of the features of the knife. A lot of times when you see folding knife reviews, you just see the knives, they do some tabletop stuff. I am going to go over to the testing area, and we are going to test this knife, okay? So don't worry about that. We're gonna put it through its paces, and so you guys know I did purchase this knife. This wasn't sent to me for free or anything like that. I did pay for this, and I am going to test it, and so you guys know. But so here we have the Kaiser Cormorant. It's a pretty common knife out in the world, but for size comparisons, kind of lay this over the top. You can kind of definitely see you're getting a big, chunky, thick boy of a folder with the Tkell. Definitely going to be able to put some hard use into this. The lockup on this is fantastic. The blade centering is nice and straight. Everything's lined up the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, there's no play side to side or front to back. Where like you get some of these, sometimes you can feel a little bit of wiggle in the side to side, and sometimes in the front to back. The front to back on this is really good. There's just a little bit on the side to side, but that's something that folding guys always look at. Here's a Cold Steel Espada medium. Thing's stiff as crap. This is one of the older ones. This one's still in the CTS XHP Carpenter still. But this is a little bit of a bigger folder, a little bit beefier. You got the lockback mechanism on there, but kind of show you guys size comparisons. Looking at these side to side. You know, I don't think there's any actually specs on this knife on the website for me to give you like the blade length and stuff like that. So there might be some on there. I don't remember seeing it on there. So go check out. I'm going to leave a link to Tkell's website down below. Go look on there for yourself to see their specs on this. I can't tell you exact blade length and stuff on these, but one of my other fixed blade, or not fixed blade, folders that I have that's a little bit larger is my, I think it's the Bull Mastiff or the Mastiff from, this is a Civivi? Yeah, Civivi. This knife is really fun. It's cool. I just like being able to just go like that, flick it open, which is one of the things I would like to see on the Tkell folder. Is I'd like to see like a fuller on here, or maybe even a thumb stub to be able to open the knife that way. But you're getting a little bit more of the same size, but I can tell you for sure that the Tkell is definitely a more robust knife than the Bull Mastiff here. I think it's a Bull Mastiff. The Bull Mastiff has a liner lock. This is a fun knife. It's going to be able to do some, you know, cool, just regular cutting stuff, but it's definitely got a little bit of a weakness in that liner lock. Like it could disengage on you and close on your hand, where I feel like the button lock is definitely a lot more secure. This is just a way more beefier knife. This is designed more for harder use than I would say this Mastiff. And even in the blade edge profile, you can see how thin this is. And then look at how much of a thicker blade you're getting here with the Tkell. So, you know, these are cool for fun everyday tasks. This is meant for hard use, right? So now this knife isn't perfect, right? There were some things that I would like to see, and these are just personal opinions. These aren't, I really like this knife. But a couple of things, because Tim does want feedback on these folders. A couple of things that I would like to see maybe going forward with the American made version is I would like to see maybe a fuller or some sort of a thumb stud, so you can, you know, this one's super stiff, but a thumb stud or a fuller so you can kind of get that little extra deployment. Like I can, with this fuller, I can thumb flick it open, or I can do that Spidey flick thing where I take my middle finger and flip it open this way. It'd be cool. I got the flipper tab on the back too as well, but I would like to see that on this blade as well. I think it would be cool, a nice feature. Not necessary, but it'd just be nice. I would like to see a little bit stronger detent spring on the button lock. It's got a good detent, but I feel like a little bit stronger spring would give it a little bit more of a, it would pop open a little bit faster, I think, because you'd have to apply just that little bit more extra pressure to really get it to pop, you know what I mean? So a little bit stronger detent spring in the USA made version I think would be cool. The pocket clip is super robust and stout. I really like it. The only thing is it does grip onto your pocket very, very well. Maybe there is some texturing right here on the handle scales. Maybe just underneath where the pocket clip touches the handle scales, smooth that section out, and it might aid with the knife coming in and out of your pocket a little bit easier. Like, kind of like, oh, this one doesn't, that's not really a comparable clip, but that is one thing I've noticed with knives that have really stiff titanium clips and things like that, is they usually put smoothing out underneath, so that way it will slide in and out of your pocket a little bit easier. Other than that, the knife is, I mean, it's ridiculously sharp out of the box. It's robust, stout. It's got a nice little attitude adjuster there on the back, like you can see. So without further ado, I know I've been rambling on here, kind of showing this stuff off, but I really wanted you guys to get a good feel for what the reasoning behind this knife is, as far as like why it was made in Taiwan. What's the purpose? The purpose is to get the American made version. And then it's not, Tim's not going to be outsourcing all of his blades out of overseas. That's not his intention. This was, like, again, more of kind of like a beta testing / fundraising to get the American made versions made. So I think that's a good idea. If it helps him out because he's a smaller company, I'm all for it. And that's why I bought one. You know, I really want to help support him out. Or there, like I said, neighbor's doing the lawn. Is there a couple of things that need to be improved? Yeah, like I said, detent would be nice. Again, smoothing out that space underneath the clip, and maybe like I said, adding a fuller or a thing. Those are that's more of a personal thing, I guess, not necessarily a necessary thing. So anyway, let's get on over to the testing area. I promise you guys I'd be doing some testing, and we're going to, oh man, look at that thing. Woo! Stay tuned, we're going to move over. All right, everybody, we're over here at the testing area, and we got the Tkell knives M01 ready to rock and roll. You know what? I told you guys we're going to test this thing out, and we're going to do it because, well, that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I like to show you guys these knives in action. And like I said, a lot of times you see folding reviews, you don't see them really getting put to any type of usage and stuff like that. And you know what? We're going to put this one to use. So here's some jeans, right? Let's say you got to cut some jeans off of somebody for whatever reason. Stabbed right through. Look at it. Cutting the jeans without any issues, right? So I wouldn't expect it to have any problems cutting the jeans, but there you go. You got jean material you got to cut through. Bam, cutting right through. See what kind of penetrating power we get. So we have the catalog right here. It's like about 2 inches thick, right? Now, this thing is basically held in with a button lock, right? And again, I got to come in over the top here, stab this thing. I got to trust that button lock is going to hold. I want to show you guys that it's going to hold. I hope it holds. I think it will hold. Tim over Tkell believes in it, so I'm going to believe in it, right? So, bam. Nice little stab there. Got about, kind of opened up on me, but not the lock, but the, bam. So we got, you see, nice stab in there. We got about maybe 3/4 of the way through the catalog. Show you guys the tip is right there. You guys can see where my finger is. That's the tip of the blade right there. So pretty good penetration on the catalog with the knife. Now let's, no side to side, no front to back play, so we're still good to go. Again, we're putting a lot of, putting stress on this thing, right? So here we have the old fire hose, right? You guys have seen me test this stuff a million times. You know that's tough. It's hard on an edge. So let's put this bad boy down right here. Yeah, nice and sharp. Yeah, let's go. Let's say you had to cut through some hose. The crow up here even wants to get in on the action. He's like, cut that hose. Bam, look at that. That's a nice good cut through the fire hose. Let's stab into this fire hose though too, right? So let's turn this around this way. Bam, right there. Pierce right through. All layers. Ah, there we go. Bam, look at that cut in. So see how that tip held up? If I'm not mistaken, this is VG10 still. I do know that it's VG10 still. I just don't know what the size specs and everything, but side to side, front to back are still good. Still opening and closing, not a problem. So, I mean, that's kind of some hard hits into some wood through the catalog, stuff like that. I mean, we're putting a lot of impact on that locking mechanism, that lock bar. So we're seeing if it's going to hold up, and so far, no issues. So that's good. So what else are you going to be using a knife for? Obviously, you're going to be cutting rope with it probably. So bam. Whoop. There. Cut through there. Let's say you got to hurry up and cut that piece. Bam. Chopped it right in half. Let's cut another piece off. Bam. Cut it through. Absolutely. Got a little double up piece here. Bam. Cut them both. Got that one just hanging on by a little strand. Bam. So obviously now, if I'm going to be doing this chopping, again, you're putting a lot of pressure and force onto that little lock bar and that detent. So let's check it out. Everything's still working and engaging the way it's supposed to. Still the side to side, front to back is still good, nice and tight. Everything's looking good. I don't see anything weird or any depressions or anything like that. So far, holding up fine. So that was a thicker yellow rope, right? Obviously, you're gonna have paracord here. You might have to cut some paracord, get that tent going, whatever. So got to cut paracord, you can. Man, all my neighbors are doing their yard work right now, so please forgive the noise. Let's say you had to come in and, man, I need another wood dowel. Well, got a little tent stake here, right? Let's test it. I know this isn't something I would say you should really ever do with a folding knife, but again, I want you guys to see that this is a nice, robust, tough knife that if you absolutely had to do this, you could. So don't recommend doing this, but I'm going to do it for you because I want you to see what this knife is capable of if need be. Whoa, that one piece of, bam. There you go. Cut that off. Now, did we damage the knife? So far, there's just a little bit of wiggle now. Just a little bit. A little bit side to side. Not too bad, though. It's still definitely well within the range of acceptable, safe. Still opening and closing perfectly fine. If I want to whip it open, I can do it too. Yeah, we're good. So it's still perfectly fine. So let's say we had to make a tent stake, right? We're gonna hog off some material here. Come in here. Again, this could be, you know, like I said, you could be a soldier out in the field, or you know, let's say you're local law enforcement and you just need a slightly heavier duty folder for maybe some, you know, bad situations. You know, I think this is going to be the style of folder that you would want to gravitate to. Is it a wood processing tool? Not necessarily, no. Is it a get you out of a bad situation type of tool? And by bad situation, I'm talking self-preservation. I would say yes. Because I think this is going to be able to handle more of the rigorous, like batoning through this little piece of wood right there is really, really hard on a folding knife. I wouldn't never really ever suggest doing that. But seeing that it did it, let's say you're in that bad situation and you're having to fight a zombie off, right? Like you're going to be hitting stuff. Like you could miss, you could hit the concrete, you could hit a wall or something like that. You don't want your knife breaking on you. You don't want that lock to break on you and this to close on your fingers, because now you've cut your fingers open and you've basically taking yourself, I don't say taking yourself out of the fight, but you did not help your situation at all, right? So if in that type of situation, you want to make sure you got a lock that's going to maintain and hold up. And this button lock, so far, for just that, again, in that bad situation, that fight, you're not going to be hopefully in it for very long. You're not going to be repeatedly slamming your knife against a wall, but you need to make sure that it's going to be able to handle 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 hits, something like that. Now, if you're in a situation where you're constantly, repeatedly banging on it, man, you should have took a fixed blade probably. But, again, shit happens, right? So, pardon the language. But we want to make sure that this is going to hold up. And so far, it has. Again, I could sit here and keep whittling this down. If I wanted to, I could even come in here, do some light chopping to help speed up that process. Again, is this a knife for making tent stakes and things like that? No, it's not. I just kind of want to show you that how well the knife is going to hold up and that it's pretty damn tough, right? That's really my main goal for this. Am I trying to make the perfect tent stake right now? No, I'm not. I'm just want you to see that this is going to hold up for what its intended purpose is, which is combat, law enforcement, fighting, things like that. If you ever have to get into that situation, which I hope you don't. But can this hold up? Yes. Can it do your everyday task, cutting some rope? If you can cut through this fire hose, you can cut through a seatbelt if you come up onto a car accident, if you're EMS or something like that. With this little attitude adjuster, can you, I wish I had a car window I could smash out, but this is a nice point right here that you can see. You're going to be able to you know, you got this closed, you're going to be able to hold on to it and bam, smash that window out, get to that person. Now deploy your knife, cut that seatbelt, rescue that person out of the vehicle. That's what this knife is, you know, to me, what this knife's intended for. Would I take that Kaiser Kammerat and try to smash a window out with it? No, it's probably going to break the handle on me. It's a great knife. I like it for what it is for EDC carry, but it's not a robust, you're going to beat the hell out of it type of knife. Neither is that big ass bull mastiff. The cold steel Espada, the end of that, you're not going to bust a window out with. Now, it is a good robust blade with a nice lockback, so it's going to handle some abuse too. But I mean, I think, you know, at the end of the day, if you need a hard use combat style folding knife, you know, this Tkell Mission 01 is going to be something to look at, or when the American made version comes out, looking at that one. Again, I kind of wanted to just show you guys some of the stuff that it can do and that it can hold up to. So we're gonna take this little piece of wood right here. Again, we're gonna put that pressure on that lock. This isn't really necessarily to see how well it, you know, splits. It's more just to see, you know, can it hold up to doing some of that batoning style stuff. You know what I mean? So let's go with a little bit thicker piece here. So you get this little thick, kind of odd shaped piece. We're gonna go right here on top. Again, putting a lot. Oop, I think I got did the lock disengage on me right there? Oh, no, it didn't. I thought maybe it did, but. Bam. So, can it take some of those hard hits and those beatings? Yeah, I think it can. Now, let's check out this knife edge. That's still sharp. Yeah, it didn't take any deformation. I don't see any. There's no chipping, and there's no rolling on the edge. So that held up pretty damn good to some of the beating that it took right now. Again, just that slightest little bit of side-to-side play now. Not a whole lot, just barely. And then the front to back is still pretty damn solid too. So let's open and close it. Yep, it's working just fine. I'm trying to playing with that detent. Working just fine. So, you know what? Real quick, we got the, like I said, we got this little attitude adjuster. So let's look at those two little dents that it put in that wood. Let's check these handle scales, make sure everything. Pocket clip is still nice and tight. That didn't come loose at all. No damage to the end there. The handle scales are all still nice and flush like they should be. Everything is looking really, really good. So it still opens and closes. Not a problem. Again, this is where I kind of would wish it had that fuller so I could go and do that whole Spidey flick thing. It's just fun. I like opening knives that way. Again, is it something that you really need? Nah, not necessarily, because you got the flipper, but you know, sometimes people don't like to, sometimes you got to break your grip a little bit to get your finger on the back. Where that Spidey flick, I'm right here, I can kind of go flip it right open. So, guys, overall, pretty impressed. I think this is it's going to be a great knife, a great, like I said, hard use knife, more than like I said, is it going to be the greatest thing at maybe, you know, doing woodworking and stuff like, no, because that's not what it's designed to do. Let's just be honest with that. It's designed to be a you know what I mean, like stuff like that. You know, it's made to, if you're doing that type of stuff and you accidentally, like I said, hit that wall, or if you got to smash out that glass to rescue that person in that car, cut that fire hose for the fireman, whatever it is you guys need to do, it's going to be able to do that type of stuff. And you know, you're not going to be worried about, oh man, is this lock going to give way and close on my hand? I don't think so. I think you're going to be perfectly good using this knife. This is, you know, and even, man, even if you just have this in a closed position and, you know, bow, you know, it's going to help you out. You know what I mean? So that's what I believe this knife was designed for. And I think that's it's doing a good job. I mean, to do, like I said, do that kind of batoning and stuff like that. Like I said, it wasn't overly over the top, but it was enough that I can almost guarantee you it would have made that some of those other knives fail. I'm pretty, you know, I'm impressed. And so, guys, go to Tkell Knives, check these out, man. If you can grab yourself one, I would suggest doing it. And you know, when the American-made version happens, I'm going to be grabbing one of those as well. So again, I bought this to help support Tim. To also one, I just think it's a darn cool ass folding knife. You know, I'm getting excited. I'm trying to watch my language right now. I just want to start, you know, saying some words, some verbs and adjectives that to describe this that I probably shouldn't use on YouTube. I don't want to offend anybody. So every once in a while I slip with a word, but I'm starting to ramble. Anyway, guys, Tkell Knives, click that link in the description below. Go check them out. Their fixed blades are fantastic. This folder is pretty damn fantastic. You know, I'm glad I got it. I'm going to be carrying this thing quite a bit. And when that American-made version comes out, I'll be carrying that as well. Guys, thanks again for watching. Stay safe, stay sharp, and we'll see you next time.